Hello everyone and welcome to the Lcms instrument overview. In this video, we're going to go over the aspects of the instrument. We're going to go over the procedure to turn on the instrument, purge the pumps, insert the column, turn on the pumps, run the sample, and compare the data. So the first thing we want to make sure that we have on are goggles and gloves. As we can see, we have both of these pieces of equipment on. We can go ahead and get started. The carrier gas we will be using is nitrogen. In this case, we want to make sure to see that the tank is either full or in service. In this case, it's in service, so we're going to go ahead and unscrew the valve until it is fully open and usable. Now that our carrier gas is flowing, it's time to turn on the instrument. The instrument has several different parts. We have some HPLC pumps, we have an auto sampler, we have a system controller, and we have a photodiode array, or PDA. We need to make sure to turn all of these pieces of equipment on, as well as the MS. In this case, the MS is already running. Now we'll head over to the computer to turn on the software. In this case, we're using the Shimadzu Lcms instrument, so we'll go ahead and click on that and wait for it to open. After we've turned on the software, we want to make sure to see that our instrument is ready. In this case, we look in the top left corner and see the LC, the PDA, and the MS are lit green. This indicates that they're ready. We can also make sure of this by looking in the top right corner as well. At this point, we can now begin purging the Lcms system. We want to make sure that the pump is off. In this case, we'll look at the pump LED and make sure it is not illuminated. We'll open the black knobs and rotate them by 180 degrees and take the probes out of the solvent bottles. This would be the best time to switch out your solvents that you wish to use in your experiment. Immediately as I hit the purge button, we want to make sure that the solvent lines are lifted above the solvent volume. Now we'll wait to see bubbles going through the solvent lines. Once the bubbles are seen, we're going to be quick to transfer the probes back into the solvent bottles. We'll wait until the purge line on the pump screen goes away. This may take 3 to 5 minutes. We'll close the black knobs if this is done correctly. We'll turn on the pumps, and the pump should be at least 100 psi after it's been turned on. After we purge the lines, it is important to securely screw on the caps to the bottles of the solvents. This will prevent any spillage. At this point, we will now turn the black knobs back 180 degrees in the opposite direction and turn on the pumps. Here, we are going to test the pumps to see if the pressure is correct. As I push the pump buttons on both of the HPLC pumps, the pressure well exceeds 100 psi, which is what we're looking for. After our sample is loaded into a vial and placed in the autosampler, we can follow the flow of the sample. Here, we can see the red line going into the PDA as well as the system controller. From there, it'll then be diverted into the MS. From inside here, we can see that the sample flows from the system controller and the PDA to the MS in this tan line. This is our column. It is a 5 micron, 50 by 4.6 millimeter column. We need to unscrew the 2 black caps and point this in the direction of the flow with the column lines. After we're done, we'll have to cap it again to prevent drying. Now let's install the column by unscrewing the caps. Now that we've set up our column, let's go ahead and take a look at the overview. We see that the red line is flowing from the autosampler into the column. Now the column is set up and it's in the correct position with the flow of the analytes from the autosampler to the PDA and the system controller. From there, we have the tan line that goes from the system controller and the PDA into the MS. After we turn on the software, it is important to change any parameters as needed for your experiment. In the Interface tab, we have the parameters that may need changing, such as the DL temperature, nebulizing gas flow, and heat block temperature. In the Data Acquisition tab, we have the LC stop time set to 30 minutes. You can apply this to all acquisition time, and as well as the PDA time. Next is the LC Time Program tab. This is a very important tab to change every time you change an experiment and the solvents you use, as this dictates which concentration of which solvent will be flowing through the column. You can change the values, you can change the time, as well as the stop time here. Moving on to the PDA tab, this is where you can set your wavelengths, start and end, as well as your slit width. In the Auto Sampler tab, this is where you can change the details and parameters of your sample that you placed in the sample rack. After everything is ready, you can hit Start Single Run. Here in the Single Run menu, you can give your sample a name, an ID, pick a method file, and choose a place to save the data file after it's done running. It is very important under the Sampler tab to pick your correct vial or vial numbers from the correct tray, as well as give an injection volume. These are the parameters needed to have your experiment run correctly. Here we have a sample data analysis of caffeine and ibuprofen in both positive and negative mode of the total ion chromatogram, as well as the mass spec data. You can use these data to understand if you had analytes present in your sample. At this point, we can now turn off the instrument. We'll go ahead and take our vial out of the auto sampler, turn off the pumps, the auto sampler, the system controller, the PDA, as well as the MS. After that, we will turn off the carrier gas. Well, that's all for now. Thank you for joining me on the Shimadzu LCMS instrument overview. We'll hope to see you next time. Take care.